this computer. There we go. All right. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I'm Stephen Moss. This is very special for me because it's our very first New Rock City YouTube channel. And we have a special guest, the Lousekateers. They are a 3-piece punk band from Westchester, New York. So thank you guys for being here. And this is my co-host, Lauren.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Lauren.
Nice to meet you guys. I'm a big fan, so this is really exciting for me.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
I like your face.
You guys are putting out great music. I'm really a fan, so I'm like a little nervous.
Oh, please.
Stop it. Stop it immediately. There's nothing to be nervous about.
Thank you.
If you've been to the circus before, you can hang out with us.
Oh,
Pretty much.
I love the circus.
Or at least Chivo, because he's the biggest clown in the band. So.
Oh, awesome.
Very nice.
We'd all get along
Don't
great.
listen to them. They lie.
Sometimes, not all the time.
Chivo, you look like you're being kidnapped right now.
He's in the trunk.
I think he is in the tree. Yeah. Josh, tell me where you are.
You know the safe word?
Wait twice if you're okay.
Safe player.
The first thing I wanted to have you guys do is just introduce yourself and say what you do in the band.
I'll let Val go first.
I am Ginger Val. I sing and I play guitar and I write some little ditties. So that's what I do.
And next?
I guess I'll go next. Well, I guess I'll go next. I hit things. I play drums, percussion, and I sing really badly.
And
He
LT?
howled.
We also don't let him sing for that reason.
No, sometimes it doesn't work though. My voice is louder than the microphone sometimes, so I just yell uncontrollably, and then usually the bass player shakes his head like he's doing right now. And Val just
Not a
Val
bad
just
thing.
she just
I'll just give
aside
up.
from the
It's like,
discuss.
I got nothing.
Give up.
Yeah.
Cry
So-
sometimes.
Yep.
We all
and then I
cry
just
sometimes.
go in the corner and cry.
We all cry sometimes. It's okay.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, so I am El Chivo. I actually play bass and do backup vocals live. And I usually try to keep Dan in check, usually. That's,
Doesn't always work though.
Keyword is
Yeah, please,
cry.
Dan.
Awesome.
He's like our dad. Dad, really.
The dad
really
of the band.
Yeah, I think that's like a bass player thing. Every band that I ever meet always says that the bass player is like the dad, and we're a bunch of errant kids.
Especially me.
Well, very nice. Well, I'm going to kick things off with just jumping right in. Yesterday, when I was preparing for this, I was listening to NPR, and they were interviewing Phoebe Bridges, and she had mentioned that during quarantine, she had found it very difficult for herself to write music because she felt that she no longer had a unique perspective on things because we're all dealing with so much at the same time. And I was curious, you guys are now working on your second album, which will be out in the spring. Has quarantine affected you guys at all with your writing?
Not at all.
Yeah, I mean, like, actually, it kind of had the opposite effect. I think, like, with all that, you know, it was interesting because I was actually kind of happy to not have to talk to anybody because I'm naturally a creative person and I get more done when I'm by myself. And I was like, every day I was calling them and being like, I have a new song. And I was just kind of writing about what was going on. I mean, there was so many different things to choose from. There was like somebody was just serving up on a tray. Do you want to talk about Trump? Do you want to talk about the coronavirus? Do you want to talk about being isolated? Do you want to talk about this? So it was like, it just, you know, I feel like it just gave me time to think personally. I don't know if I could speak for the guys. I mean,
She'd bring me a guitar riff and I go 1, 2, 3, 4, boom, pop, boom, pop,
Yeah.
boom, pop, boom, pop.
that's what goes on in his head most of the time.
That's just,
That's cool. You guys were
all
able to
we
just
get from 'em.
focus and be productive. Um,
Yeah.
I was going back and looking through your old interviews that you have done, and about 2 years ago, you did one on a show called Bring It On, and you, Ginger Val, you had mentioned that you grew up in St. Pete.
Yes.
I'm actually from Plant City, so not
You're
too far.
lying.
I'm
Oh
not.
my God.
Yeah, just east
You
of
know
Tampa.
what's funny? I used to go to punk parties in Plant City.
Are you serious? I
Wow.
didn't even know if
Like,
you would
yeah, when I was
have
in
heard
high
of Plant
school.
City. That's awesome.
That is amazing. That's so
Wow.
cool.
What a coincidence. That's crazy.
Wow.
So
Nothing like meeting another Floridian from
Yeah, right?
Florida. Good old Florida.
yeah,
But
But-
Stephen, would you call yourself a Florida man?
I try not to. No, I always try to say I'm from Jersey, and people are like, "No, you're not."
That's
But
awesome.
that got me thinking, because I believe that the city in which people live and grow up in plays a role on their style of music.
Mhm.
When you moved from Florida to New York, did your writing change at all, or how has New York played a role or influenced your music?
I mean, I think like if you listen to our stuff, and especially the next album, and actually we pretty much got we pretty much wrote like a third album too that's backed up after this album. I think if you listen to it, the stuff like we all write in the band, and so we all have different styles, and they could probably elaborate more on that. Like everybody comes from different musical backgrounds, and we're, you know, from different places and everything. But this stuff that I write tends to be the poppier, beachy kind of sound. So I guess yeah, there was definitely like some influence. I don't think that I'm not the type of person that's easily influenced by my surroundings. So I think like when I moved to New York, I'm like, well, I'm still gonna write what I like, you know? So it's not like as readily accepted in New York all the time because it's just a different scene up here. It's more, I feel like there's more hardcore stuff here. But you know, we travel a lot too to play. So we go to different places to play, and I think personally, I think our sound is more like California,
Gotcha.
Florida, like the beachy kind of poppier sounding places. That's my opinion personally. But yeah, you could take the girl out of Florida.
Yeah, I try not to openly say I'm from Florida.
I know that's like one of those things where it's like I have herpes. I mean, I'm from Florida. I mean,
Yeah, exactly. Lauren, did you have something you were going to bring up on this one?
Oh, was I? So, when preparing for this interview, I came across a really cool story about Cockatiel Boy. Can you elaborate for the fans the backstory?
From whose perspective?
Gingerballs.
I think she wants the person who wrote the song's perspective.
he just wants to talk. He likes to hear himself talk when he's not hitting something.
Okay.
So oh God. So that song is actually, I don't even want to tell you how old that song is because that would age me. But it is a very old song. It's actually been in 3 different bands that I've been in. And it started, I used to do musical comedy, and I was like this traveling person who would like kind of like, you know, like I would improv stuff and like make jokes on people and do a little stand up and stuff like that. And I used to play, I lived in Orlando for a while. So I was playing like this circuit of little venues there, like the smaller little hole in the wall places. And there was this guy, you know, every time, especially because it's Florida, let me just emphasize that. There's going to be some insane human being doing something crazy on stage for attention.
Wow.
There was this guy who used to come on stage and make cockatiel noises, and that was his shtick. That's what he did. And he would do it every week.
Say, wasn't that me?
What? That's
That was me.
crazy.
He would just come and make bird noises, and he'd do it for like a good 10 minutes.
That's
And then
bizarre.
Get off the stage and go have a beer and be like, I'm done. So I started talking with him and he's like, Ginger Val, can you write a song for me? And I was like, all right. So I kind of turned it into this there is kind of a story in there about infidelity and all this other stuff, if you really listen to it. And it was really for this guy that I never saw again. I mean, like, I don't even think he ever heard me play the song.
Wow.
But he was the inspiration behind it. And that song has literally traveled with me in 3 bands. This is the 3rd band.
Really?
And actually I had it recorded a long time ago too, as a solo thing that I was doing. And I'm like, I can't listen to it anymore. Like, that's always the one that you guys are like the Bird group, right? And I'm like, oh God.
It sticks with you because it's such a catchy song. So it sticks with you.
Well, I'll alter my next question then, because I did point out the age of the song, but I won't do that now. So what I'll say is songs can take on new meanings based on a person's life experiences. Cockatiel Boy, as you mentioned, is quite old. Has there any song or has been any songs that you guys have written that has changed meanings over the years? Or as the Chankster, as you mentioned, when you asked your perspective, how are the songs different maybe from each member?
Depends. Like, for example, like if I write the music to something and I have lyrics like halfly written, like I'll actually give you a perfect example. On this new album, we have a song that I wrote called The Silence, where I wrote the chorus, and Val, she literally wrote the lyrics in literally, like, I don't know, you were like 2 to 5 minutes or so, and she completely, my original thought process behind the song was completely different than what she had in mind, but it actually ended up turning better what she put down. So
which, by the way, I have to add to what the Chanksta is saying. I wrote the lyrics to it on a napkin at Joe Queer's house in his kitchen.
Wow.
yeah.
That's cool.
Because we had originally recorded it there, and I was like, but I don't have any lyrics, because we're supposed to only be working on Happily Never After at his house. And I was like, guys, I'll be back. I'm going to get some coffee. And I in the kitchen, and I was like scribbling down the lyrics.
Well,
like
I truly think she took a dump and then she wrote the lyrics. That's what I truly think happened. She had it on the toilet paper writing the shit down. But
That's hilarious.
I wouldn't disrespect Joe Queer's
Gabe
back.
is our resident expert of dump.
That actually is a perfect segue, because I was going to bring out that I think some really great lessons can be mentioned for younger musicians or newer bands when they hear about how you recorded your album and how it was recorded in the home studio of Joe Queer, and how that he even did some vocals on your album. Can you tell people about what you did to make that happen?
Well, it's funny. I've been a Queers fan forever. And I've met Joe Queer, like, very casually, because he always comes out and like talks to everybody at his shows. He's like one of the best human beings I've ever met, to be honest. He is like one of the most genuine, like nicest, down to earth guy who just loves to help people and talks about music. And like, it's so rare that you find that in somebody that's like such a pop punk icon, and still playing after like 40 years,
And one of the realest punks, I feel like one of the realest, not just punks, but just realest people.
Yeah. And so the Chanks and I had went to go see the Queers, actually, and we're like, but what if we could talk to Joe Queer? And just like we just wanted to like engage in a conversation with him, like a real conversation about music, and kind of talk to him about what we were doing and stuff, and like get some maybe like queer advice or something. And so we wound up like, there's this place called The Chance. It's actually Dan and
Did you say The
Chiva's
Chance?
favorite place.
Yeah, it's called The Chance Theater.
In Poughkeepsie.
In Poughkeepsie,
Mhm.
right.
I've been there.
It's their favorite place.
Oh, that
being
trash
sarcastic.
bin? Yeah.
And it was funny because Chanksa and I, we were about to leave. We're like, well, we can't find him. We had talked to the bass player, Cheeto, who's hilarious and awesome and a nice guy also, at the merch place. So we're walking outside and it was like God and the Holy Gates just opened up. There's Joe Queer in the van right there in front of us. And we're both looking at each other like, he's right here. We were like on the way back to the car. And I'm like, no, we got to go talk to him. So we wound up talking with him, and literally I couldn't believe it. He's like, hey, why don't you come down and record? And we're like,
fuck yeah.
Like, he's like, yeah, I just started, noodling around with these things, and I'm playing around with my own studio. And we're just like in complete shock. We're like,
that's amazing.
Are you really? And I mean, we're not the only band that he's done this with. He's helped a lot of people. Like, this is what he loves to do. Like, he's really good at like, helping out, like starting bands and things like that. He's just an all around great guy. So we were like, I had his phone number, and I literally like hung it up on a bulletin board in my apartment. And I was like, this is the best thing that's ever happened. I was like, and then I was waiting until the last minute, until we pulled into the driveway and like rung the doorbell, because I still didn't believe it. We were in Georgia. I was like, are we really here? Are we really at his house? Like,
no, it's the Waffle House.
For real.
After sleeping in the parking lot the night before.
Yeah, we have a lot of stories on the road where
Oh
there's a
my
lot of
God.
crazy stories on the road that we've had.
I'm
And
sure.
the funny thing is, he wound up being a good friend, like, and he still like reaches out and texts, and he's just like such a great guy.
That's
He's
awesome.
so supportive, and he's like everybody's punk rock uncle. He's like the person you want to talk to because
He's the reverse.
he's just. What was that,
That
T-Bone?
guy that when they say don't, when they say don't meet your heroes kind of thing.
Yeah,
He's
definitely.
like the opposite of that.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
he's
absolutely.
the guy
Uh-huh.
that you tell everyone about. That's who you
And
tell
he was-
everyone about, because he's like the nicest and sweetest guy.
Yeah, and he was very inspired because Joey Ramone was like that to him.
Oh, no way.
So
Wow.
I think he's kind of like paying it forward now, because
Sure.
Joey Ramone was like that to him, and he was like, and he's just like in awe of Joey Ramone. That's like his hero. He has a lot of stories about him and everything, and he's opened for the Ramones before, and him and Joey became really good friends, so he loves to talk about him. And I think because he had someone like that in his life, he now does that for other people, which is
That's
really
awesome.
refreshing to see. Yeah. He really is like what people say about him. He's a great guy.
That's
Mhm.
awesome. Yeah, thanks for saying that. I just think that's such an inspirational story, because you guys took the initiative, put yourself out there, and it paid off awesome for you.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, that worked
Oh,
out.
Dan has no shame. Dan has no shame.
No, you watch too. So yeah, I'll do anything and everything. I got no shame.
So to piggyback off that, you guys have also opened up for bands like Doyle from the Misfits. Did that also come about by you putting yourself out there, or how did that come about?
Well, okay, I'll explain that one. That actually didn't
Let
happen. It
Fabian
was
tell
supposed
the-
to happen.
Oh,
It was supposed to happen, but it didn't happen. Long story short.
that's what happens when you look up old stuff and don't get good.
Yeah. But we have opened for Fishbone. Like we have one for them. And that was cool. That was a cool experience for me,
Yeah.
because I grew up listening to Fishbone. So that was cool.
Also great guys.
Yeah.
Great guy. Also really down to earth. Angelo, he comes out and talks to everybody.
Mhm.
Like, great guys.
Yeah, awesome dudes. Awesome dudes. And to me, that was a show. I was like, holy fuck, I'm opening for Fishbone. This is insane. How many people can say that?
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, you've
So,
had some really good experiences, worked with some great, accomplished musicians. What have you guys learned as a band from those experiences?
For me, I think it's like I don't know if I learned it or I was just inspired by it, but what I've learned from the people that I really enjoyed working with is like, one thing Joe Queer told me that I hung on to was that he always said, just keep writing music. And that was like the best advice. It's so simple, but it is so true. Like, he's like, just keep trying things and writing new music, you know? And I never forgot him saying that, because that's what he does. And, you know, he's still making music. He just released an album this year. And I think the most important thing is, like, you're going to have shitty shows. You're going to have shitty albums. Hopefully not, but you know, it happens or whatever. And just keep going, you know?
What about you guys? What have you learned from those experiences?
Well, yeah, I mean, for me, at least from my perspective, we've learned a little bit of everything, because especially with this past year, not being able to play anywhere or not doing anything, piggybacking on your first question, like what I've noticed in particular to write more and to be more active in the process is that we kind of lag a little bit, because we were always going out and playing everywhere. And we were always out, we were always doing everything, but we kind of let things kind of fall to the wayside. With this extra time, we've actually kind of come in more together as a group.
Oh, nice.
And we've done more writing, we've done more creating, more collaboration, even experimented a little bit more. So it made it a little easier to do that stuff. But the cool part about having that time, being on the road and playing with all these different bands, is you get to meet people and you get to collaborate in that sense and network and get to know all these people that you didn't even know before. You've heard some of their music, but when you get to actually meet them and meet some cool, because you always meet some shitty people, but for like, I would say like 90% of the people we met, really cool people, really great guys, really great women, and like everyone was really cool to us. They're very inviting, and we had a great time in a lot of places we went to. Even the bar owners or the places we played, we had a good time. And that's really the long and short of it, is like, if you go out there with the intention of being happy and playing and go with that happiness and joy and laughter and find all the good things, that you end up getting more from it than anything on that joy that we have.
Definitely. And also
because I'll be honest with you, because this actually goes 100% honest with you guys. Like, I came up in funk, I came up R&B, funk, rock, like straight up like progressive stuff. That's my background. I mean, that's my sound that I love to listen to and play. And like, I've gotten to learn to love the stuff we play because of how
if you could, we kind of lost you. Can you repeat that?
And be that involved in the creation process, and with punk, you get to do that, and it's like, really, there's no rules to it. You just do it, and you have fun with it, and that's like that's you know, you get used to it, and you get to love it really much. Into, you know, so, and that's it, and I get to really do it with two people that I really enjoy being around, and like, in Val, you know, I sing her praises a lot, especially when on these interviews I tell everybody, because she downplays her role, but her ability to write these really catchy and like really memorable hooks, I mean, it's like unmatched. That's why, like, when we give her music to write to, we don't tell her what to write. We don't give her any direction. She asked for it. We're like, yeah, nah, you got this. We're like, nah, you got this. And she just comes up with stuff that we're like, damn. All right, well, see, fuck it. Why would you?
So Val comes up with
Why
a
do you
catchy
ask?
hook.
Go away. Go Dan's the same way. Dan's like, I never worry about Dan playing drums, you know, because he just, you know, you give him an idea and he runs with it. He just runs with it. So I think that, so at least from my perspective, that's like what this is given, or at least the time with all this stuff is given. So I kind of enjoyed this. Opened up a lot of doors, you know, and being able to basically meet all these great people. So it's actually pretty awesome for me. So I don't know. What about you, Dan?
I think the most important thing, like you said, also too, is we also have a lot of fun being around each other, and that's the key thing right there, is having fun and really enjoying what you do. and not really worrying about like what other people are doing, because when you start trying to worry about what the other scenes are doing, what other bands are doing, and all that, you kind of, and you're trying too hard. You're really trying too hard, and it almost comes to the point where if you're not having fun, then why are you doing it?
Exactly.
And I feel, and I think if you try to like duplicate someone else's sound, or you're trying to be someone else, it's just like you're trying too hard, and that's almost, it's like not fun. The whole thing about this whole thing is fun. I have the most fun writing music with Chivo and Ginger Val and all that. We have a great time. We make fun of each other, but we write great music in the process too. In the process of, we make jokes. We don't take ourselves seriously at all. I crack jokes on Chivo and Val all the time. They crack jokes on me all the time. We will crack jokes for probably each other in the next 2 minutes. We'll probably say something about each other. But at the end of the day, we have the most fun. And
Pull your stick and shut up.
and really, yeah, that's what it's all about to me. And just we keep writing, like Val said. The chemistry, like what Chivo said, it's like, Val, I can't say enough. Everything Chivo just said about Val and her vocals is absolutely spot on, because she can think of hooks like I couldn't even, like, she'll write a hook like that, and I'm like, holy, and it's like, wow. And like, it's crazy. And then Chivo, like, he's such a melodic bass player too. Like, it's so when he gives me an idea, it's like, bam, I already have an idea right off my head. Like, okay, this is what I want to do to go off his stuff. But even Val too, when she gives me a guitar riff too, I'm like, it's very easy. It's just comes so natural. And I gotta say, in the last 4 years, we've been a band. I've had the most fun I've ever had in like my entire lifetime. So being on the road.
That's awesome.
So
yeah,
and
I have to say, just to add to that too, like they are such more skilled musicians than I am. Like,
Sell yourself short.
Like, and I'm not saying that like out of modesty. I'm being honest. I'm not a guitar player. I can play some power chords and I can make stuff up. I'm my stronger suit is probably writing the hooks or whatever, but they come up with such catchy stuff, especially when you hear the second and then the upcoming third album. It's totally different than the first, and that's a lot in large part because we really had time for them to add so many things that we did not have time to do on the first album, because the first album was like, oh, you have 2 days to record it and that's it, bye-bye, we're done. And it was like, really, it was fun, but it was really rushed. And like, they are really good at like coming up with stuff. Like I said, like I could give them something and we pound it out like really fast, but that's the chemistry in the band. Like, I don't think we have times where, certain things are harder for me to write. If I haven't written it, sometimes I have to like really dig deep. If it's not my style, I might have to like, think about it. But I think that like, that's really like important, because they come up with some catchy stuff too, and then it's easy for me to just fill in the little blanks along the way, so, and that's hard to find in a band, because we've all been in other bands. We've all been in other projects and other bands, and it's really hard to find people that you actually like, even if you make fun of them all the time. And also you have music chemistry. That's very rare to find that. And you can tour with them and not want to kill each other, even though, by the end of the tour, we usually do want to kill each other, but we make it through the first couple weeks.
Well, that's really cool, because
no, that's a lie. That's like the first couple days.
First
second day.
Especially when someone needs coffee.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Seriously, in the morning, forget about it. It's like hell freezes over.
We all need coffee in the morning.
Man, I can't. I'm not one of those people that can sit around and wait for it to happen.
Oh, we know. Trust me, we know.
I can't.
No, that's really cool, because that comes across with you guys. You guys have mentioned before in the past that, like, for example, Ginger Val, you don't tell Daniel how to play drums, or tell, like, it's not dictated like a business. It's more like you guys are just friends jamming, and that totally comes across. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
and the weird part about that was that we became friends after we were already in the band, which is interesting, because Fabian and I like kind of knew each other casually. We had met like once or twice. And then when Chanksa and I met, it was like a Craigslist thing. Like, hey, I want to start a band. You want to come? And it was like really awkward because the first time I met him, he didn't even like sit down to talk to me. He walked past me and started playing the drums. And I was like, hi. It was only us in the room. I'm like, hi. You know, like,
Wow.
it was really weird. And then
That's
we all
funny because you guys don't give off that vibe at all. You guys really have a vibe of like you've been friends forever.
Yeah, like you mesh well.
You know, we've had a lot of in a very short amount of time, a lot of life experience together, you know, and we do a lot, you know, we do the Lousecast, we did a movie, we did a lot of stuff together, like a lot of projects, and traveled, and you know, so that kind of like that can make or break people, you know, all those things, like having all those pots on the fire, you know, or whatever you want to call it, because it's a lot of stuff to manage between three people, you know, and we got really lucky because some bands hate each other.
That's true.
Well,
It is a business.
That's sad but true. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You had mentioned travel, and I just wanted to briefly ask you. I know before COVID, you guys were supposed to have a Blame Canada tour. What's
Yes.
the update on that?
Chanksta, do you want to speak to that? Because you're usually in charge of all the.
You know, it's funny. Chivo actually helped out a lot with the booking because he showed me a lot of like the dates and everything. But I want to give a shout out to one band in particular called the Follow Ups, because we were supposed to play a lot of shows with them last year in Canada. They're a great punk band from Canada, and I'm hoping this year, depending on how COVID is, like if it like ends or whatever by summertime and we're allowed to like play shows again, I'm hoping to do what we had planned last year this year. Because we were supposed to go up to Toronto and then like it's almost like a triangle. We're gonna go like this way and then down to Buffalo and then back to where we're at. So we were gonna hit Vermont, Massachusetts, all that, head into Toronto, and then play a bunch of shows with this band called the Follow Ups, which are awesome band, by the way. Awesome band. And but because COVID-19 happened, that kind of blew up in smoke. But in the process of doing it, like you said, during that time, we got to write the second album. We're writing that right now. We're hoping that will be released by summertime, and once that's released, we can tour off that and go to Canada like we had planned last year.
Very nice. So once things open back up, that's your plan is to back up and have
pretty much. Yep.
We don't sit still. We
No.
actually do a lot of I guess you call it local-ish travel. We go to, you know, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, Jersey. We try to like do the tri-state area. You know, we get out as much as we can. You know, we like to travel. So we don't stay put for long, you know.
No, never.
I saw you guys played a show in Clifton. I live in Clifton, and I missed the show.
Oh man.
I hope you guys are gonna come back to Clifton.
Of course we will.
Which one was that? Which venue
was
was that?
Dingbats.
Dingbats.
Oh,
That was
yeah.
our first show was there.
Yep, that was our first
Our
show.
first
We had
show was-
we had
Oh,
two shows.
Your
That
first
was
show
your
ever was at
show?
Dingbats? No way.
I'm
Wow.
beating myself up right now.
That was
Yeah.
our first show, and then we went back.
Don't beat yourself up. Don't beat yourself up. That was not a good outing for us.
What? I know. I would have loved it. I would
That
have loved
sounds
it.
funny. Yeah, I live right down the road from Dingbats.
Yeah,
Really? Wow.
that's crazy. It's funny because also I saw on your Facebook page that you played with the Undead in 2019. I'm a huge fan of the Undead, and I just want to ask: have they influenced your music in any way?
I can't say I mean, we met the Undead. That show by a guy named Jerry, part of the Downstrokes, who's played with them. He actually booked that show. I can't say the Undead particularly influenced, but I know for me personally, the Misfits have. And him being a guitarist for the Misfits, you know, yeah, absolutely, yes. So
I'm a huge Misfits fan.
yes, and that's the other reason why I love them, because Chivo hates them. He can't stand the Misfits.
Yeah, let me ask you something. How long did you listen to the Misfits before you started playing in this band?
I listen to them a lot,
Oh,
actually. I've
don't
seen
be
them
cute.
twice.
Don't be cute over there, Daniel.
Yo, I see them twice already.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, that's why I sound like him. When I sing, I try to sound like Danzig.
No, that's actually your
Sounds
natural
like
voice.
somebody's
That's what's
cat
scary.
dying.
I mean, that's.
Yep.
But yeah,
I'm
so
sorry,
that's
go
the
ahead.
answer to the undead question. That's really where the influence comes from the undead. It's actually it's like undead then misfits.
Yeah, well, Bobby Steele was in the Misfits. So.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, they're hugely underrated too. So
They
I
were
think
good.
I
We
think-
played with them. They were really good. They're really good.
Yeah,
Awesome
I
dudes.
like
Yep.
Misfits. And actually, I would say a lot of the stuff that Chanksta writes is very Misfits influence. Like if you listen to especially the second album that's coming up, the songs that are harder sound a little bit more like something the Misfits would write.
Oh,
And
cool.
those are usually
Yeah.
Chanksta songs.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
usually write the heavier, like the punker. Like I would say, if the real, like the heavier punk stuff, it's usually me. And then Val kind of writes the more melodic, the poppier stuff. And you could almost tell a difference between like a heavier song and then one of Val's songs. But you know what's also too? I don't want to discount Chivo's writing ability too, because he wrote a song on the second album too, which is really good, which is going to sound really different than something we ever really did before. So it's a really going to be unique song. This second album coming up this summer, it's going to be completely different from the first album.
Wow.
That's
Still-
what I
we're
wanted
still-
to. I actually had a question for Chivo about the second album. So, Chivo, you had mentioned in the past that one of your goals that you would love to do is work with Zach from Rage Against the Machine and do a more serious political album. And I wanted to know, does your new album have a more serious tone? And are there any political songs on the album?
There are actually. There's specifically a song called "White America" that Val wrote. That is very political, and that one is it's apropos, and it actually has a lot of context with what's going on in
The Capitol.
what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, that's
I mean, that's one too. But there are some serious topics that Val covers in the second album that that you'll hear once that second album comes out. You're gonna hear that that are close to her and close to people that I think she knows, and stories that she knows, and people that been infected by the same things that have happened to them. So I think it's going to be pretty good. I think overall the album itself it does have its serious moments. I think a lot more than the first album, but it doesn't lose the character that we've grown to accustomed to being like in a lot of the other songs on that second album. So we still have a lot of fun on it. The music, even though there are some serious subject matter, the music always feels like it's has either a poppy feel or punk feel, or it feels good to listen to, even though the serious subject matter is there. So it's got its moments, But as far as Zach, from Rage, I mean, that would be awesome. Although, trying to get a hold of him, that's hard. That's a whole different issue. Like,
Imagine.
who the hell
Gangsta can
knows
do
where
it.
he is now?
Yeah, I mean, just to add on to that, like the first album, I feel like, and because there were a lot of older songs on there, it's like funny and silly. And then all of a sudden it was like the second album was like, I want to write about some gritty shit. And it was like, I mean, there's like heavy topics on there, and some of it might sound like a boppy, fun song. And there are fun songs on there too, but some of it's dark, it's like, there's a song about rape on there. There's a song about, like what Fabian was saying, like the political warfare and, catcalling, a lot of feministic kind of topics, but then there's also like some light, airy kind of love songs and different things on there as well. So it's kind of like a mix. Of fun and also like some serious stuff that kind of needs to be talked about.
Yeah.
I find that very interesting because me personally, that I love that. One of my favorite bands is Anti-Flag, and they're very political.
Oh yeah.
And you guys
Political
had mentioned in the past that one of your songs on the first album dealt with racism, and I like totally missed that. It went over my head. Would you tell me which song that was?
On the first album?
Yeah, in
That
one
was
of your interviews talking about your album, you had mentioned there was a song on it that dealt with racism, and I couldn't figure out which one you were talking about.
I couldn't figure it out either.
The first one that I'm thinking is White America on the second album.
Oh, okay.
Because that kind of like captures everything that's wrong with the world. I think it was probably White America, because I don't think on the first album, I'm trying to think, guys, did we have a song that was about that?
I
On
don't.
the first album?
I don't think.
I think it was White
album, no.
America from the second album.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was White America. Yeah, because
We've been playing that
that
song for a
one
while
was
now.
just
Yeah, we've been playing that live for a while now, so
Okay.
maybe that's probably
yeah.
why.
So I might have misunderstood you on that then.
Yeah, that one's about, White America is basically about like how shameful it is to be a white person, because there's so many things going on that you're just embarrassed and you feel bad for, and it sucks.
Yeah.
And all you can do is like try to be a good person and try to recognize your privilege and help people, as much as you can. But it sucks that these things are going on, And so White America talks about a couple different things. It's mainly like damning the Trump presidency, and all the things that, in a very like fun boppy song, all the things that are wrong with the presidency, which racism is a big theme in that song, which is how messed up it is, that this is where we are now,
Yeah, definitely. To kind of go along with that, I was wondering, thinking back to when you recorded your first album to now your second, you had alluded, and we just talked about how some of the subject matters are a little more serious and a little darker. What about the process of writing or making the album? Has that changed at all?
Well, I think that this for the second album, I think that like that was where we were just kind of like, I have this idea and I want to write a song. I was really thinking about this, or you get a melody in your head. I don't know if the second album definitely has more production, 100 times more production. The first one was very raw.
I was going to say that's actually been a big part of the second album too.
Yeah.
Like the first album, we were really kind of like, okay, let's just get it out. Let's record it. Bam, boom, boom. Let's get it out there. Where this one, we're actually taking our time with, and as far as production goes, we're adding like little things here and there. We're making sure like, okay, let's make these songs really good since we have the time. We're not like in a rush. We're not going to another state, driving like 6 hours away to record an album. This time it's like right near us. So
I just thought of something too when you're done talking. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, so that's really that as far as production value goes and recording process, that's a big difference. As far as writing goes, I mean, we kind of I don't know, it's just different because we're all
I don't think it's changed
ideas.
much. I don't think we've changed our writing our process any differently. I think that with the pandemic, when it started, I think we all had to take space and kind of do things on our own for a little while. But as soon as we got a chance to really get back together, I think we all just kind of the same thing started happening again. We just kept writing the normal way we usually do. Yeah. So I don't know.
I just thought of something too while Chengsa was talking. Maybe one day off the first album, we did do a lyric video during the quarantine. And if you watch the video, when you were talking about racism, in the video, there is like the Black Lives Matter protest. There's a lot of different things. The song is talking about the end of a relationship and wondering, the whole title is maybe one day, like kind of coming to grips with things. But the video takes like not just a relationship, but it's also everything else that's going on in the world, and hoping that one day it gets better and you have an answer and you can find some peace in the chaos. So that was like very loosely, the video was made to kind of like point out the wrongdoings of what's happening in the world right now if you watch the video, and just kind of like still have hope that things can get better even though things are kind of shitty, you know, and hoping that you have some kind of answers and some kind of closure eventually, you know, with things that are going on. So it wasn't directly written about racism, but the way that we put the video together, it did involve the things that are going on as well.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Nice. So you had mentioned that the process was pretty much the same. Some of the topics are a little different. Also, this time, as we kind of alluded to in the beginning, when the album drops, you're also going to accompany it by a movie, which I think is just
Yes.
so badass. Can you tell us about that?
I'm the star of the show, number
Yeah.
one. Yeah, I can tell a little
Tivo,
story about it. Actually,
Stars, big stretch there. Like,
Tivo, you have to tell the backstory behind the Mandals because you started it.
Yeah, I'll let Chivo start this one.
so yeah, I mean,
Inspiration.
well, I mean, it's a very quick backstory because it just has to do with the fact that like when we started practicing together, I mean, Dan used to come in with like socks and like sandals and mandals on, you know, like you just come in and we used to just be like, what is going on here? What is that? You
Is
know,
that
like,
what a mandal is? A mandal is
It's pretty much it's a sandal, pretty much. Yeah.
you know, the
Oh,
strap
okay.
on,
Yeah.
the strap on sandals.
Yeah.
That's what they
Like Birkenstocks?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
It's horrible. It was horrible. He needed help.
I agree. I agree.
And so one day, actually, what inspired me to start like writing the script was because we finally convinced him to stop wearing them. We were like,
So they think.
this
So
can't
they
be
think.
happening anymore. We love you. We don't want this to happen to you anymore. And you know, he went to the store
An
and bought some
intervention had to be.
shoes.
A Birkenstocks intervention.
Oh, it was total intervention. And so one day we were on tour and someone like we cut him off in traffic. And he's like, now normally he's like a soft-spoken guy, like, you know, hey, like he never gets mad. Like, you know, well, this time, this is after he ditched the Mandals. He's like, what the fuck, man? What the hell? You just cut me off.
Road
And
rage.
we were like, oh my God, this is life after Mandals. He's like a real man now.
That's like my experience, yeah.
But yeah, so
we're like, we have a title for a movie. We have to write it. So I think they thought I was joking when I'm like, I'm really going to sit down and write the script. And I kept like harassing Chivo because Chivo is actually like a comedic genius. He's so freaking funny and like can do characters and like write all this stuff. So I was like, I thought they thought I was kidding. And I'm like, no, I'm serious. Pulling out the laptop. I'm like, no, we're going to make a script about this.
That's
We're going to
awesome.
make a really stupid movie that's like Napoleon Dynamite. Like,
we even have the follow-up
and so
movie. We have the follow-up movie, Mandemic.
Mandemic is going to be, yeah. And so we started like literally on tour, like skeletoning the script, making a skeleton outline. And then I got home and I was like, I'm finishing this in one day. So I sat there and I just like filled in all the holes. And we shot it in like a few days and it was so much fun. I mean, we just had, it was like 400 degrees outside. It was in the middle of the summer. Chivo was dying. He was so mad. But we got our friends involved. We had so much fun. It's such a fun movie. It's like ridiculous. And actually, like when you see it, it's really poking fun at, you know, how much we take style into account. You know, it's not meant to be serious. Like the guy, I don't want to give too many spoilers, but you know, he's wearing mandals. His whole life falls apart because of his shoes.
If you don't want to be spoiled,
so
stop now.
ridiculous.
Spoiler
yeah,
alert.
stop
Spoiler
right now.
alert.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you don't spoil shit. You're spoiling right now.
And
Well,
then
that
all
sounds
of a sudden,
awesome.
when he
I
goes to
cannot
buy
wait
a
to
pair
see
of Vans,
Right?
he
I'll
goes
spoil-
to and buys a pair of Vans, and like this magical JR fairy comes to visit him, and he all of a sudden like gets a record deal and gets a girlfriend and gets all this, and it's so silly, like that. It's like it was meant to kind of poke fun at how people are about style. Like when I was writing it, it wasn't really, yeah, it's making fun of Changsta, but it was really like, and the song on the second album, Brand New Style, is the same thing. It's kind of making fun of people who think that when they change their fashion choices or they change their body or they do something, it's going to make them feel valued. It's going to make them be popular, and feeding into that whole bullshit, you know? So I wrote the song right after that to go with the movie, because it's like, the movie is, if you take it at face value, it's very silly. But if you think kind of deeply about it, it's like, it's silly because it's supposed to have a message on how silly it actually is.
Gotcha.
I
You
can't
know,
wait
to
to
like-
see that.
And with the
Yeah.
pocket off and the pocket off what Ginger Val just said, our second album is going to be called Life After Mandels.
Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
That's the title of our second album
And the movie.
and the movie. So it's like, it's kind of like you get the second album and the movie pretty much all at once.
That's badass.
It was
I
so
love
much
that.
fun.
I love that.
I want to do it again. It was like so much fun to make that movie.
And there's a lot of characters in it too. There's so many characters besides me that just makes that movie so. It's gonna be good. Just trust me. Just be on the lookout, guys. It's gonna be really, really good.
Can't
We
wait.
really-
Actually,
Can't
it's
wait.
so bad that like I think we all learned so many lessons, kind of like the first album. It's like, oh, on the next one, we got to do this. We got to do that. This was terrible. We got to do this over again. You know, it was like a big learning curve. You know, it's very like, we filmed it on iPhones. You know, it was very like no budget filming.
Whatever. We recorded on whatevers.
Yeah,
whatever.
iPads, iPhones.
That gives a character. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Hell
was fun.
yeah.
It was really fun.
How is it going to be released? So, like, when the album, how are people going to be able to purchase that or to get it?
Oh, we're
Well,
working
we've
on
been
that
in the
right
talks of.
now.
Sorry, go ahead, Chivo.
I'll just say we're working on that right now. We have we're working on our we're trying to set up right now our own kind of like our own kind of a production situation. We have a website and we're working on our website right now. We're going to do like an e-commerce thing where people can order it from the website. Then we actually started talking about doing like a release. We're going to do like a live virtual release show where we were going to like broadcast the movie. We had talked about doing that too. And like, we have a perfect spot for it. We have a perfect spot for it. And we talked about doing that and then like broadcasting it and playing it during the live show. And so that people could watch it for the first time. If they wanted a copy of it, they get a direct copy from us or something like that, like if we wanted to.
And we're going to do
a
like
digital
a
copy.
Q&A with the actors. We're going to have the actors come on and do
Yeah.
like a virtual Q&A and stuff.
Very cool.
So it'll
Now,
be fun.
Nice.
I was talking to DeChanksta about some merch. Do you guys have any updates on when you're going to have your website so people can get T-shirts and CDs and things like that?
That's now starting to be more of a priority-based situation. So we're actually, that's something that we're working on now. We're going to try to get that up and running as soon as possible. So our aim is to try to have it, or at least my aim, because I know I did task myself with doing this, so that I had to be on top of it. So and this is my fault that it's been a little bit running behind, but my goal is to try to have it ready by somewhere mid-February. So just to have it all up and running and everything like that. So I would keep an eye open. So
Yeah, we've been doing everything like really old school, like, oh, someone will email us and be like, where can I get this? And we're like, oh, we'll send it to you.
Oh, awesome.
Then get some
Little
little.
Venmo.
I was hoping to get a
Camp.
shirt before the interview, so now I know who to blame. On that.
Yep. We'll send you a shirt. Don't worry.
I want a shirt too.
You'll get a shirt too. Sure, why not? Oh, speaking of the Misfits, I just happen to find this now, and I'm sure you're gonna love this. Boom.
Oh, nice. Nice. I actually
Choke on
have
it.
Doyle sent me a pair of underwear of Misfits underwear.
Was it his underwear?
Wow.
No,
Wow.
it's I wish. No,
He
it was
sent you the tidy whities? Great.
it's women's
Well, actually,
it's
speaking of-
women's underwear.
oh, That's
I didn't know
freaking.
he had underwear.
Yeah, I didn't know either. Apparently, but
He
he,
wears
he
dogs,
apparently
who
does.
knew?
Well, actually, I've seen the Misfits a couple of times actually, but not with Danzig. When Jerry Olin was singing with
Aw.
them, but they would do a 3-piece. And one thing I always noticed about him, which actually is a big influence on me, is he would always stay after the shows. Like every show I've seen the Misfits, Jerry Olin would stay after the shows and sign every autograph and talk to every fan.
Yeah,
He would actually have little kids come on stage with him and sing the songs too.
yeah,
So,
that's awesome. That's awesome.
um,
I love that about them. Danzig, not so much. He's
It's
not
funny when I
so
saw the Misfits.
friendly.
When I saw the Misfits, there was a huge "fuck Danzig" chant. It was
Really?
so yeah. They were like
Really?
"fuck Danzig." And
Wow.
it was loud. It was a
Oh,
loud
wow.
fuck
It was
Danzig.
actually Chivo in the back of the room.
Yeah.
In a megaphone.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So
Long live somebody else at the helm. Like,
so they've actually with Jerry only they've been doing. I know they used to play a lot around where I'm at, like the Poughkeepsie area and all that. They used
Yeah,
to play like
us
Halloween
too.
like every year.
Yeah, every year the Misfits would play on Halloween, not always with dance.
Mhm.
Yeah. So and so I've seen the Misfits like I'd probably say 3 or 4 times already, and
Yeah,
with Jerry
same.
only final. Yep.
That's cool.
That's all. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
So I don't want to bring it back to Florida, but I have to ask. So I love the name the Lousekateers. I love the band's name, and I just wanted to ask, what's the meaning behind the Lousekateers name?
Well, yeah, it totally came from Florida. I mean, I lived in Orlando for 5 years and I've seen the horrors of Disney to the point where no human being should actually have to see it, and it was poking fun at them. I'm not a big Disney fan.
Me neither. I've never
Oh,
been.
good.
I wouldn't even want to give them my money.
Yeah, I mean, like they just rip people off, and
Exactly.
the employees are not treated very well. They're very poorly underpaid for a company that makes so much money.
Exactly.
And and I had friends who worked for them and everything, and it was like, it's a joke. It's not meant to be mean, but it's just a joke. And we were like, we were trying to play around with something, the tears, like kind of making fun of like cheerleaders or something, and I was like the Mouseketeers, and I'm like the Lousekateers, because it's like, oh, it's the annoying version of the Mouseketeers, like whatever. So yeah, it was like a little like, it's funny because we've been to shows where people are like real hardcore punk shows where they're like, are you guys friends with Disney? And we're like, no, we're not, we don't like that.
Antithesis of that. Fuck Disney.
You get like some big like punk rockers in the pit with like the jackets and like, hey Lousekateer, come here. You like Disney? They're the Antichrist. I'm like, yes, I agree. Yes.
That's the point.
Chankster was talking about seeing shows and the chants, and I can relate to that because I used to live in the Newburgh area, so I would go there a lot.
Mhm.
So when thinking back to past shows, because we all miss live music right now,
Mhm.
I was thinking about a time when I saw the band Seaway play in New York City,
Mhm.
and it was so funny because after the show we all went outside. Their tour van was parked right up front, and it had a parking ticket right on the windshield. And I just thought that was so funny. And I was wondering, what are some of the interesting or funny things that's happened to you guys when you played in different venues?
Oh God.
Oh,
Dan's got a
man.
parking ticket before.
So
Dan
many.
definitely got a parking ticket before last time we played.
But not more than one, by the way.
more the
Oh,
people-
geez.
It's more the people that we've met that are just hilarious. Like
I
on
like to
tour.
spend the night with you.
Yeah.
I can honestly say that each one of us has our many stories, and probably like 5 or more from the shows, and are probably 5 different ones.
On our first tour, one of my favorite memories was when, and I have to throw
Maverick.
Go out there because it's funny because he's always been in like these progressive rock bands that, it's like a calmer audience. We go to this show in Virginia and it's like in this old colonial building,
Third floor, baby.
On the third floor, we're
Oh,
lugging our equipment up
shit.
there. And there was this guy, he was so cool and just crazy drunk. And he was just like, the whole show, he's like, yeah, Lousekateers. Like, he's just freaking out. And in the middle of the show, like, I'll never forget the look on Chivo's face for the rest of my days.
Yeah, this is
The
good.
guy punches, there were like these columns in the middle of where we were playing.
A
The guy
support
punched
column.
it so hard
Whoa.
that the whole building like shook.
Oh,
And we're like
man.
sitting there like we thought the building was gonna cave in. He's like, I love you. And like,
Bam!
so, like punches. We're like, oh
Not the support column.
yeah.
Punch anything but the support column.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
And
incredible.
we're all sitting there and Chivo almost drops the bass. He's just like
I was
and we're
like,
just,
my,
dying
I can get
laughing.
another base. I can get another base. So I'm going if this is happening. Like,
And a new pair of pants.
Damn.
really.
That's incredible.
Another great story is when we were in Reno.
Oh
and
God.
this old guy was hitting on Ginger Val. And
No, you're not telling the story right.
How
have
could
to-
you
have to
not?
give
He wasn't. He
Ribbon
wasn't
Ginger
old,
Val.
man. He wasn't old. He was.
No,
he
he
was
was
a
pretty
younger
old.
dude. He wasn't
Okay,
young.
All right,
first off,
let's-
we were
let's-
in
let's
we were in a bar that had a stripper's pole in the middle of the club.
Oh, cool.
Did you say
And-
strippers pole?
A stripper's
Yeah.
pole. It belonged to a stripper. And the guy comes out now moments before, you know, like when the band stops playing and they turn the jukebox on. They
Yeah.
had Rolling Stones playing. You can't always get what you want. And he comes up to me and he was just like creepily like leering at us the whole time. Like that
Oh,
face, exactly.
Creeper.
And he comes walking over and he like kneels down on one knee and he's like he has no shame. Like in Reno, I guess they don't give a fuck. There's no subtext. They just say whatever's on their mind. And he like kneels down and he's like, well, I'd like to spend the night with you. But I guess hearing the song, you can't always get what you want. So we're like, we
What
need
a
to make
creeper.
shirts. We need to make T-shirts, Lousekateers shirts. We'd like to spend the night with you, but we can't. But you can't always get what you want.
I love that.
With Mick Jagger's face on it.
Well, that definitely surpasses the parking ticket from Seaway.
Yeah.
Yes.
We've seen so much crap.
Oh, how about that? How about the bar we played in down by where you down by your hometown?
Oh my God. If you know Florida, you know about some redneck bars.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So we were playing at one place, and then my friend was like, you guys should try to get a show at, they thought this place was really funny because like you walk in and literally like the last time I was there, a guy had like a beer bottle and a gun holster around his waist. He's like, hey, we got a buffet. And there was like old stale bread and like some kind of dead animal on top of it. And he's like, and they're like, oh, it would be really funny if you guys played this to piss off the rednecks. And we were like, okay, that
Hell
sounds
yeah.
fun. So we went, and first we show up, and literally, no lie, the lady's name was Bobby Sue behind the bar. I'm not even making this up.
Wow.
I'm not making this up.
Wow.
She's like, hey, I'm Bobby Sue. Let me call the manager. So she calls. She's like, let me ask, you're a punk rock band? Well, this is usually a country bar, but all right. So she calls the manager. Now we're thinking, oh my God, like, what are we doing? We're going to get shot. Like, our songs are crazy. Like, what is going to happen? So the guy comes, the Chivo and I were actually there. Chanksa was outside on the phone or something. The guy pulls up. He has like a pot of coffee, not a cup, but a pot of coffee, sits it down, and he's like, well, I can't pay you, but I might be able to scrounge up some gas money for you if you want to play. And he's like, I don't know how they're going to like your kind of music around these parts. And it was like literally like right behind the trailer park. Like,
Well,
yeah.
let me tell you.
Yeah, that's what he did.
I can't pay you, but I could probably scrounge up some gas money if you just want to play.
And we're like, oh my God, the whole time we're playing, it's it's like dead silent. Like I'm thinking when we get off the stage, we're gonna die. Like this, like
Run!
this is, you know. And then afterwards, they were all like, "Yeah, man, that was some good shit, man. Yeah, you
Well,
know,
they
I
started
used to
cheering.
play-"
They started cheering afterwards.
They
It's
were
like we were
cheering.
totally caught off
And
guard.
he
We're like,
actually went
whoa!
around. The manager went around and like collected all this money for us and
That's
gave us money. And he was like so nice afterwards. Like he was really hostile at first, but then afterwards he was like, "Y'all are all right. I used to have nice. At
Nice.
the Grand Old Opry." And I'm like, "Oh, okay."
You know that drum kit you play that's not been played for the last 40 years? Well, that's Bobby Sue's.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Dan, why don't you tell them about the drum kit? The oldest drum
Okay.
kit in
Oh yeah.
history.
So you know those memes you see on like Facebook, everything like, oh yeah, this venue they have a you guys can use our drum kit, and it's like a broken down like toy set.
Yeah, yeah.
It was one of those things where it was
Oh,
just
man.
like I could have been playing on trash cans. It was seriously like, yeah, we got gear you could use. We got this drum set over here, and I swear there was dust on it everywhere. There was like cobwebs on it, and I could have scrounged out like pots and pans, and it could have sounded better than that.
That's
And it was like falling apart, and the bass drum sounded like a freaking fucking coffee pan. It was surprised. I'm surprised. Like I said, we had like the worst equipment we can use, and somehow we won that crowd.
We
over.
sold CDs. Like they're all like, "I gotta take this home to my daughter." And I was like,
It worked out. It worked out in the end.
It was really weird. It was like the weirdest experience because it was so quiet the whole time. We were like, "Oh my god."
I gotta take this home to my daughter cousin.
That's
They're
so
expect-
perfect.
They're expecting Dolly Parton, and we give them us.
That's great because you were talking about memes, and your whole story just made me think of my favorite meme. And it says, you know, watching people's reaction to Tiger King reminds me not everyone grew up in
Oh.
Florida.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. If you grew up in Florida, Tiger King's like, "Oh yeah, that was like my neighbor." Like,
Yeah.
my
You know,
neighbor
growing
had-
up in Florida, we call Tiger King
Brains in
a
his
freaking
backyard.
Tuesday.
It's so funny how when you grow up in Florida, you become so desensitized to what everyone else thinks is crazy. Like when I lived in New York City up until about, well, back and forth, but for years. And I never saw anything as crazy in New York City as I did in Florida. Never.
That's the truth. That is totally
Wow.
Never.
Yep.
Really?
I never saw anything. I'm talking nights on the subways, you know, walking home in the middle of the night, going to bars, going to different places in New York City. Never once did nothing could even like get close to what I saw in Florida.
Wow.
That was part of the norm.
Yeah.
The stories are true about Florida.
There's a reason why Florida man memes are such a thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's very true. And they think that that's like normal. It's like, "Oh yeah, that's Jimmy getting locked up for meth again. It's another tweaker, man."
When I lived in Florida, I grew up in a trailer park, so like everything
Yeah,
you're saying is just
Listen,
spot
my
on.
family, we were dirt poor. We lived on on dirt road, literally. Like, you know, it was like every walk of life you could ever imagine. You know, every type of craziness you could ever imagine. It was nuts.
That's funny.
It was really crazy.
So away from Florida and back to you guys, I just have a couple more questions for you guys, and I'll let you go. But I'm curious for each of you, what is your favorite song to play live?
That's a good question.
Oh, Val's answer is like anyone who haven't played 600 times.
I'm not good with repetition. I get bored really easily, and that's why I have to keep writing new stuff. I think currently, for me, my favorite song to play live, because we haven't done it a million times, is off of our second album, When Nobody's Watching. That's a new one. And I just really always have fun with that song. It's different than the stuff on the first album, but it's fun to play. So what about you guys?
How about you guys?
Jib, you want to go first?
No, you go.
All right. Ivory. The song Ivory that I'm off the. Well, until we start playing the second album stuff more, I won't know until that point because it could change. But as of like right now, of all the shows we have done, Ivory, because something crazy usually happens with me because I just go nuts on that song. I might flip over a bass drum. I might
Water on my drums.
I might take a shirt off and throw it at Val, or I might have a $5 bill, which just actually happened. Someone actually gave me a $5 bill, and I just put it in my
You
mouth.
put his shirt back on.
Well,
Yep.
they asked him to stop singing. They asked him to stop singing.
That too.
And like, $5.
I might touch. I might go over and give Fabian El Chivo a hug with my sweaty milk dug nipples. Not anything can happen during that song, and just anything can happen. Yep.
What about the time you in the backyard? Remember that show?
Oh
And
yeah, when
kids almost dropped their ice cream.
Yeah, I decided to go into Val's bathroom. I took like shaving cream, I smeared it over my face, played that song, jumped on the bass drum. I scared some little kids. Yeah.
In the neighborhood.
Yep.
And then you also didn't you break your drum? Didn't you break your bass drum doing that?
Yeah, that was. I was playing a show, and it was actually during Ivory. We were supposed to end with Cockatoo Boy, but I broke my bass drum. I was like, "Fuck this," because my pedal went right through the head. And once it goes through the head, you're drumming a drum. And once you go through a head for a show, you're kind of fucked. So I was like, "Fuck this." I took the bass drum, I just flipped it over, and I was like, "Fuck this," and I just made it worse.
He did make it worse. So,
Chico, what's your favorite song to play live?
Live, I guess because we're playing the first album stuff and some of the second album that we didn't really record at the time. I really enjoy playing Johnny Danger, which is off the first album.
Love that song.
There's a nice little, it's good. There's some cool like dynamics going on in there between me and Dan. And but as far as like the stuff that we're doing now, because we're playing it a lot so that we can get it down and so we get it as tight as possible. So when we play it live, it kind of sounds pretty thick. So there's one song that's going to be, there's a tie between two songs that we like. Well, actually three songs, because we play the Silence a lot, and I actually like playing that song a lot. Val's favorite song, which is Val's favorite song, which is what is that?
Yes.
I like that one.
That's a me song.
I like that one too. And and then what do you call it? I do like Felix Mandelson.
Yeah.
That one's gonna be that one. You guys are sleeping. You wait till you hear that one. That one's gonna be
yeah,
awesome.
Well, Ginger Val, you said
it's gonna
something
be good. I think we
that just made me think of something. You had alluded to the frustrations of playing the same song over and over. And that made me think I was watching an interview with Travis Barker from Blink-182.
I love that man.
And he mentioned how you just get tired of playing the same song over and over.
Yeah.
So what he does is he'll actually play the drums different than what it is on the album. Just to kind of keep it fresh and keep it exciting. And, Cockatoo Boy is over 20 years old, but it's everyone's favorite. I was wondering, do you guys do the same? Do you guys mix it up? Do you maybe change the bass line or change a drum fill or do something to keep it fresh?
Yeah.
I definitely change things with vocals a lot. I add things, I pepper things, I change the way I say things, because I can't do the same thing over and over again. It like repetition doesn't work with me. So as far as these guys, I don't know. What do you think about instrumentally?
With me personally, it actually for me it changes every night because first of all, depending on the adrenaline, depending on the crowd, depending on everything else, I'll definitely change a feel here and there for sure. Like I'll keep the same, like I'll have the beat will stay the same. Like you'll obviously recognize that it's Cockatoo Boy, but I'll like even like some of the new songs that we're probably gonna do live, I'm gonna switch up fills here and there, like little subtle things here that I might not be on the, because live to me it's like okay, there's a difference between studio and live. Like I do believe in the studio. Your studio stuff should be good, but I think live you should be able to take it another notch. I always think a band should be better live than in the studio. And live, I improvise a little more sometimes with fills here and there, but not to the point where
Especially when
it's
he's
like
totally sick.
that too. I'll try to be showy. I might try to be showy or be
And
stupid.
dropping them.
And I might drop them. And yeah, that's the other thing too. I might. The thing is too, I could fuck up on stage too, for all I know. But that's also part of it. I accept the fuck ups. I accept everything. And like, yeah, I try to keep it interesting because I can't sit there and play the same thing over and over again too. I'm kind of like Val in that sense, where it's just like, if we had to play Cockatoo Boy the same way, I couldn't imagine playing Cockatoo Boy the same way, the studio, for like 20, 30, 40 years from now. And I don't know how bands do that. I really don't know, because
that would drive anybody crazy though. The repetition, singing the same songs every night.
Yeah,
Drive anybody crazy.
The unfortunate, the reality is, unfortunately, for especially in my position, like, that's kind of my job. So in that sense, I kind of have to keep the steady rhythm with Dan. So even if he starts switching stuff up, I kind of have to keep doing what I have, the same stuff. I can throw fills in here and there, which are fine because I do that. Like I'll come up with fills after we record it. So like even when I'm playing it live, I'll come up with new stuff to do around it that those things aren't recorded. But as far as just day in day out playing it though, like I kind of have to keep playing it the same way because even if they try changing stuff up, there's got to be a piece of it that stays the same. Yeah. So I end up having to kind of do that anyway. But I do throw in random like good like fills and stuff here and there because that helps me change it up a bit and helps me kind of add stuff to it so it doesn't feel the same anymore. So half the battle,
I only have 3 more left. I appreciate you guys coming on and spending some time with us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Fun.
Hey, thank you.
My question now is thinking back to the first album that you have ever purchased, how do you think that influenced your music and you as a musician as today?
First album we ever purchased. That's a good one. That's a very good one.
Yeah, so your first album, how do you think that influenced you as a musician today?
Well, that's a tough question. I don't even want to tell you what my first album was.
I don't really want to say mine either.
Now we gotta hear it.
My first album was New Kids on the Block.
Hey, I had that cassette. There's no
close
shame.
enough.
There you go.
I'm dead serious. I was
nothing wrong with that.
KOTB fan. I was like, oh man, I was obsessed with Jordan Knight. I just I loved him. I thought I was gonna marry him. I wanted to be the 6th NKOTB.
So let's play on that. So as you were a kid watching him, do you feel either consciously or subconsciously that you have taken some of his performances and used that in your own?
I do a lot of oh-ohs in the song, so maybe subconsciously there's still a little New Kids on the Block buried in the brain. I mean, I always liked something with melody, and they were very melodic.
True.
They were a pop band, but they were very melodic. And I was also really around the same time influenced by like Cyndi Lauper and Madonna, and like I loved those girl poppy singers, So I mean, like, yeah, I'm sure there's something buried in my subconscious that was like, put a couple of OOOs in this, and you'll sound like New Kids on the Block.
So what about you guys? Your first album, how do you think it influenced you as being musicians today?
Do we want to go first?
Yeah, go ahead, Dan. That's fine. Go ahead.
All right. I can't remember the first album I actually brought, but I remember a lot of CDs I got like all at once from somebody, and it was like, I don't know, it was like the 2000s where like Blink-182 and like Limp Bizkit and like that whole MTV scene was like popping, and I got that, and I was like, I don't know where I want to go with this. This is, I guess, cool, but then I was like, okay, yeah, I want to play drums, because I was like playing classical, like I was forced to play classical music when I was a kid, and I was just like, I hate this. I freaking hate this so much. And I see all these like bands. I'm like, that's what I want to do. I want to be in a fucking rock band. I don't want to be like playing this classical shit. So I stopped playing that. I was like, drums look really freaking cool because you get to hit things. And then next thing you know, I'm like banging away. I've got all these. Then it went from like, I don't know, Limp Bizkit and Blink-182 to like, I don't know, pretty much everything between Nirvana, Pearl Jam to like NoFX, Rancid. Any style you give me, the Miles Davis from jazz for diffusion to straight up even hip hop like Wu-Tang and NWA and all that stuff. So I just took in everything. Once I got into my craft, I started taking music from all angles. So, but I guess you mentioned Travis Barker, so I guess I could kind of start from him. He was kind of my introduction to like pop punk. Because then it was like, okay, and it went to Blink, and then it went to Green Day, then it went to NoFX, then it went to Rancid, then it goes to Screeching Weasel, then it goes to the Queers, and then it's just a big hole of punk coming in. But it's not just punk coming in though. There's also a lot of progressive rock coming in, maybe like Rush and Pink Floyd, like and stuff that anything that Val hates, I freaking love. So
I love Screeching Weasel and the Queers. I like the punk bands that you.
Yeah, so but it comes from anything. Then 1 minute I could be listening to Fishbone, the next minute I could be listening to Buddy Rich. Buddy Rich is a big band, swing stuff. And then the next minute I could be listening to Wu-Tang. Then the next minute I could be listening to Megadeth, or the next minute I could be listening to, I don't know, the Ramones. It's just a big pile of things. So, but to answer your question, I guess it starts from Blink-182, Limp Bizkit, and Korn. I guess those three.
I love Korn.
What about you, El Chivo? How do you think your first album influenced you as a musician today?
Heavily, actually. Like I actually the first 4 albums I ever purchased on my own, I was headed on a trip to Italy, and I bought 4 albums. So the 4 albums I had was Notorious B.I.G., Juicy, his first album. The second album I had was Live, Throwing Copper. The third album was Red Hot Chili Peppers, Blood Sugar Sex Magic. And the fourth album, I'm trying to remember what the fourth album was. Damn it. Those are the 3 I remember off the top of my
Barry
head.
Manilow wasn't.
No, it wasn't Barry Manilow. No, actually it was 10. It was actually Pearl Jam 10. It was actually the one. Oh, I'm sorry. No, that's a lie. Complete lie. It was Nevermind. It was Nevermind. It was Nevermind. And I fell in love. The funny thing, because I love that album, but I love the secret track on it. And I fell in love with secret tracks because that was one of those things that like I feel like a lot of those albums today are missing, is that one secret track that happens at the end of the album that like no one sees coming, and all of a sudden it's like 20 minutes past on like the last track, and you're like, why the hell is it going so long? And all of a sudden it's like you're inside their like bathroom. It was like, what the hell's going on here? Anyway, but those 4 albums, I listened to those on repeat, like after each in rotation for the entire trip I was on. It was like an entire summer I was there, and I listened to it on repeat, like, and I fell in love with. I mean, I was already like I grew up in the projects and stuff where I grew up, with when I was growing up and stuff, and so hip hop was a big thing there. So I used to listen to a lot of hip hop there, but I didn't own any, so I just listened to it on the radio and stuff. But when I finally purchased my own, having that hip hop background, at least understand it, like vibe, there's like a vibe that comes out of it. There's like that, I guess that pushed me towards bass a lot. And I feel the vibe, and then going to like Red Hot Chili Peppers, where you get that funk behind it. So you have like this hip hop
flat bass, man. That was amazing.
Exactly. Flea is my favorite, man. I love Flea. And then Throwing Copper. I know if you ever listen to, they have a unplugged version. Live has an unplugged version, and it's one of my favorite MTV unplugged. Never gets any push, but their drummer is ridiculous. Their drummer is sick, and he gets no play. Their bassist is fantastic. He's a melodic bass player. Like he plays these cool melodies on bass that pushed me more so, I think, than I really give it credit for. I play a lot of melodic bass riffs. So I love funk, and I love playing funk tunes, but it pushed me towards funk, but playing melodies with it, playing funky melodies. And then Nevermind got me to feel for like, you can still, cause there's a lot of grooves in Nirvana, like the bass lines are very groovy. They're like, they have some really cool stuff going on behind it that you wouldn't necessarily think begun with these like hardcore grungy thrash, sometimes thrashy moments in it, you know? So it did push me to it did push me kind of like down a path that I don't regret. I mean, this is exactly the way I like playing, and it kind of brought me to where I am now. So like that's like pushing me over the edge, and what do you call it? And this is, you know, like it's made me more self-aware looking back at it and seeing what I've been able to do, and the amount of I guess influence it's had on me. So I'll take it, man. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a blast doing it too. So.
Well, awesome, man. Thank you guys so much. I just have one final question, and then I was just gonna give the floor to you guys to speak to your fans. Before we do that, I just want to know if you guys could go back in time to when you started the band and give yourself one piece of advice, what would it be?
Make sure there's coffee in the morning.
It's a necessity.
That's a good question.
Put a muzzle on Dan.
It's a good one.
It's a classic.
Stumped you.
I'll go with this. Pretty much the same thing I said to you before. Make this fun. Have fun. Like it's be open-minded to everything, every experiences. Don't be afraid of everything. Keep it creative. Keep kind of what Val said earlier. Keep writing. Keep everything interesting. Enjoy the company you're around. Don't take yourself too seriously. And just have fun. That's really what it's all to me. That's what it's all about. Having fun. Enjoy the creative process. And do not take yourself too seriously. Don't be a stuck-up asshole. Be open to everybody. Help other people. Help other bands. Be supportive of the scene. Really bring out the scene too, because I feel like that's one thing that's lacking big time. Is I think a lot of bands sometimes they feel a lot of competition between one another, and it's always just like, oh yeah, we're a better band. We got to do this. We got to better this band. We got to be as big as this band. But they lose track of what's what really matters, and it's about community. It's about the scene and really building up the scene and making a better music scene for everybody.
Yeah, and also something that I've learned and keep learning is let go of things. Sometimes there's going to be times, especially when you travel together or you're writing an album together, where not everybody agrees on the same thing. Sometimes, there's never going to be any situation where everybody gets what they want. Very rarely does that happen. And sometimes you just have to say, okay, I'm sitting out on this one. They agree with something and I don't, or vice versa. And it's okay to let go of things, and don't 2 years later be like, well, remember that time where I needed coffee and you didn't let me go get it, Chivo? It's just let go of things. That's what makes people strong in their relationships and their creativity. And what Chankster just said too is I've always been very passionate about community, and especially the punk community. We've met some of the best people, and we've made friends that we've never even met in person, especially during the quarantine. We've done a lot of interviews like this. We've networked with other bands, and I think I've always felt like that is especially because the punk scene's so niche, it's so small. You got to stick together. We've had people be offering us places to stay, when we're on tour and doing things like that. And that's what it's all about. It's people helping each other, so.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much. This means a lot to me and to Lauren.
Thank you
You guys
guys.
are very
Thank
first
you.
guest that we've ever had on our new YouTube channel. So I really, truly appreciate
Oh, stop it. Good job.
It's very much appreciated. Thank you guys so much.
For the
That's
last part,
awesome.
I just wanted to give the floor to you guys and say, is there anything you would like to say to your fans?
Oh man. We love you guys. If you're a fan, we love you. That's all I could say. We love our fans. We love our friends. Thanks for all the inspiration.
All right, Chivo, you're next.
I think he's frozen.
He's frozen.
He's like, he's deep in thought right now.
All right, I got something.
Really
Yeah, so be on the lookout for our second album, Life After Mandos. It should be out by, I'm going to say summertime, June, I would say June, summertime, around that area. We got a website coming out soon. Be on the lookout for our new a movie coming out, Life After Mandos. It's going to be funny. You'll get a lot of laughs out of this one. A lot of laughs. Second album is going to be great. You guys are going to love that once that comes out. Working hard. We're looking forward to get our website out soon. Lousecast, we're bringing those a lot more out. There's a lot more episodes. We've been on the works for that. We've actually interviewed a lot of people, and a lot of people are on hold on that. But don't worry, we're going to get them out. And they are coming soon.
That's our podcast.
Yeah, that's our podcast. So yeah, maybe we'll have you guys on Lousecast.
Yeah,
I would love that. That would be awesome.
Yeah, we'll have you guys on Lousecast.
That'd be awesome.
So yeah, we hopefully once all this whole pandemic's over, we got a vaccine coming out soon, so hopefully we'll get back to doing live shows soon, and then we'll see you guys on the road. We're gonna be back on the road soon. We're gonna have a second album coming out and everything. So
hell yeah, I can't wait to see you guys live.
Yep.
Oh yeah, we'll bring you. Trust me, we can't wait to see you there. So yeah, we'll probably be at Jersey some point again. I guarantee we will. Well, even if we have to play like in a woods in a campfire, we'll figure out a way to do that.
We'll come to New York, so we'll work it out.
Awesome.
Well, thank you guys so much. It truly means a lot to me. I appreciate it. And as a selfish note, I just want to throw out, you can also, North Jersey has a lot of great venues like White Eagle Hall, which is in Jersey City. There's Maxwell's, which is in Hoboken, where Nirvana played.
Oh, wow.
Debonair is in TNX, so there's a lot of great chances for people to catch you in Jersey, or also just head over the river to New York.
I've been to a few places in Jersey for like some venues.
We played TNX.
You played Debonair?
Yes, we have played. Yeah, actually in TNX, that's where we're open for the queers.
Are you serious?
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn, Steven, how did we miss this?
I don't know.
It was a Sunday.
It was on a Sunday.
It was a bad day to go see a show, but they were awesome. I mean, queers were awesome.
Awesome. Well, we'll definitely catch you on the next time you're in town.
Oh yeah.
And,
definitely.
Thank you so much for being on. Sorry we missed you at the end, but thank you guys so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Lousey's out.
Later.
Take care.